Perfect escapism. Even as certain elements of this book are damn near torn from the headlines of the past several weeks. For the record, long after Di Maio had completed writing this book, as I've had it myself for nearly 4 months already, this book really is pure, damn near perfect, escapism. For most people. For those in at least one sadly far too common situation, one my own grandmother experienced during the period detailed in this book, it could potentially be triggering. Yet even in this, Di Maio provides a solid set of escapism, and even in this, there is ultimately purpose in the story beyond, you can survive. Instead, the vast majority of this tale focuses primarily on one particular lady and the situations she finds herself in during the early 1960s as she attempts a career as a Pan Am stewardess. We see in detail the exacting standards of the position and the more intense than one may realize training they underwent. We see that then, exotic locales that are still wildly different than what most Americans today are accustomed to, and yet those locations have also been increasingly Americanized, and generally commercialized over the ensuing decades, to the point that this book really hits the nostalgic appeal of the locations in the eras portrayed and, as the text takes place nearly entirely in the early 1960s, largely glosses over all that they have become. Our other primary narrator from this period is another view of the trials women went through in this period, and here Di Maio does a particularly superb job of showing that looks can indeed be deceiving, and sometimes one must actively seek out the real truth in matters. Our final perspective, yes, this is technically multi-perspective, but there really are just the three, is a modern-day person looking back on the halcyon days portrayed in the rest of the story. It is through her eyes that we see both all that was, story-wise, and, even a glimpse of Di Maio herself, as she notes in the author note. No, not even spoiling that here, although that particular tale sounds pretty fucking awesome. Slightly smiling face. Ultimately, this is one of those books that does a truly phenomenal job of providing maximal escapism through exotic travel in a long-gone era. And it is one that is going to tug your heartstrings quite a bit at times, both making your heart race from a variety of situations and in making the room quite dusty indeed at points. For those who may have worried where Di Maio was or if she was coming back at all or if she could come back and stay just as good as she once was, with her last major release being almost exactly 3 years to the day before the publication date of this book, I'll tell you now. I've now read over half of Di Maio's major releases, first encountering her with 2019's The Beautiful Strangers, and at least of the books I've read from her, this may well be the best one yet. Very much recommended.